All right, guys, this video is to explain why I'm asking for GoFundMe funds to help me during my time of need, where I'm consulting with my doctor. My doctor agrees that it's not necessarily good for me to go back to work right away, but I am nursing a back injury that happened in November of 2024 while working at Ocean State Job Lot here in Rhode Island. I've since been denied TDI because they're saying that either one, I didn't know how to fill out the form, or two, there's no one to actually speak to at the organization to try to prove my claim that I actually did follow through with what the Rhode Island regulations are for TDI. Also, trying to get them to recognize that I'm nursing a back injury. I was not diagnosed right away. The doctors that I consulted with did not require for me to stay out of work. I'm trying to get them to look at my issue. Long story short, after working almost 4 years at Hertz Rental Car in February of 2024, February 16th, I believe, I was laid off from my employer. I fell on unemployment for 6 months. During that time, I had run out of money. Because unemployment does not pay your full paycheck. So I wound up having to go work for Uber. So I was Ubering part-time while on unemployment, trying to get some money in my pocket. I had been praying to find full-time employment. And in the week, the exact date I do have, just not on me at the moment, but sometime around October, November of 2024, my prayers were answered. I was able to find, I was hired by two companies. One was Ocean State Job Lot on a temporary contract, and then also Bank of America on a full-time contract. But Bank of America was not going to hire for 2 months. So I had to wait 2 months to go to Bank of America to work a sedentary position as a client services representative. That was December 2nd, 2024 that I would be able to work there. But 2 months prior to that, because I was running out of money, I was almost dead broke because I had to wait 6 months to find any employer, and I was trying to get out of Uber. If you know anything about Uber drivers do not make money. If you just do the math, in order for you to make money as an Uber driver, your expenses have to be extremely low, meaning your car, like you can't have a car payment. And then you have to understand that the car that you use is going to take, it's going to need maintenance. And, you know, honestly, if you're driving for Uber, don't worry too much about depreciation, but your car does depreciate. Essentially, that's, you know, your car's wear and tear over, you know, your car's value over time, not wear and tear. We're not even talking about maintenance. But you don't make any money driving for Uber. So I was trying to get out of Uber. So we'll just say October, I thought my prayers were answered. I was making, I was offered a job to work at Ocean State Job Lot, making $17 an hour on a temporary contract. While there, I spoke to the managers whose names I won't say in this video. But I spoke to the management team about potentially getting a higher position. You know, at the point when I had applied to work at Ocean State Job Lot, I had almost 15 years experience in managing people, processes. You know, I didn't have my Six Sigma certifications, but I had been in that space for quite a while. My first job before graduating college was as an ops manager for my brother-in-law. And at 20-something years old, you know, you retain that type of mindset, meaning that my biggest skill has always been leadership, operations. I can do marketing and all that good stuff. I know how to be I'm a self-motivator, if you will. That's what I learned from that job before graduating college. So I do a lot on my own. But long story short, when I finally got the job over at Ocean State Job Lot, I tried to show my skill set, how, I had worked in customer service when I was 16, so I knew how to run the front desk. I knew back of house operations because I worked for my brother-in-law. I worked for Staples. I know certain metrics. So if you put me in a training program, I'm a plug and play. Let me learn your system. I can learn your system very quickly. You don't have to teach me too much, and I guarantee you, if you test me, I will answer all your questions properly. Long story short is that I have a certain skill set, and most of it's in leadership. I have some IT background. I have some IT experiences, and I can do most technical jobs at a company. So at Ocean State Job Lot, I went in trying to tell them, like, this is my skill set. I'm not a laborer. I haven't worked out in a long time, right? Not worked out in the sense of, lifting weights. I tried to do workouts here and there in the past, but I wasn't in the condition to be able to lift heavy boxes. I'd gone through some stuff, especially over the past 5 years. Me being a mama's boy, naturally I care for my mother, and when my mother's going through something, it's hard on me too. Just like it's hard on her when I go on stuff, being my mother's pseudo husband has not been easy. For anyone that actually knows about those situations. But what I was trying to explain to Ocean State Job Lot is that I'm not in the condition to be able to lift heavy boxes, and certainly not for a long time, because I need to work out before I can actually do that. I told that to a couple of the managers when I first got there, but within, I believe it was 2-3 weeks, which I do have all the dates, they're just on my docket, or on my docket, I tweaked my back, meaning they have U-boats, right? And you take from the U-boats, you put the boxes on the shelves, on the upper shelves. During that action of taking one of the boxes and putting the box on the shelf, I tweaked my back, right? So later on that day, I didn't call a doctor right away. Later on that day, I did what I normally do, which is go online, try to research what I can so that I can have an informed conversation with the doctor that I'm going to consult on my back issue. Also knew something about injuries, especially back injuries, because I had been studying sports for years. I used to play sports. I had injuries in high school, and in high school, how I would take care of my ankles would be to ice and elevate, is what it's called. So if you sprain an ankle, and I can go further into this if I can remember all of it. I know if you sprain in, I think either if you sprain in or out, it doesn't matter. You still want to, as long as you didn't tear something in your leg. If it's if it's inflammation, then what you want to do is you want to ice and elevate. So you ice 15 to 20 minutes and then take off the ice, but you want to keep your leg elevated. My back issue that I had discovered, and what it said online, was that if you just rest enough, oftentimes you can get healing. So I decided to rest my back. Because I was on a temporary contract with Ocean State Job Lot, I didn't have quite 32 hours. I think I was working 24 hours, and they were all of the hours that I had obtained at the time when, prior to hurting my back. No, I had hurt my back when I was lifting boxes, and then over the next couple of weeks, I was going to be learning the registers. So it was going to be light duty anyway. I did light duty, didn't have any issues with my back afterwards. And then I went about my day, right? Some healing. So if you talk to a doctor, they'll tell you there's typically a period where your back heals. So I'm thinking that everything's okay, right? I didn't, I went online, didn't find anything that made me not want to I didn't see a need to go to a doctor, essentially, right? Not right away, because I'm educated a certain way. I went to college. I've been studying on my own. And if you talk to doctors over the past, right, they encourage you to do, we live in a DIY society where we have to make decisions on our own. I'm not saying that every decision that you make on your own about your medical condition is the smartest if you're not educated a certain way. For instance, I've heard, I'm used to, no, I'm not used to being injured, to be honest with you. So I didn't know exactly how to handle it as well. So I did wind up consulting a doctor, but I consulted a doctor after they asked us to open a new store. So around late October, they asked us to go open a store. Now, at that time, my back wasn't really hurting. I was walking around, I was doing just fine. I imagine maybe there was some healing there. I had been technically resting for about 4 or 5 weeks at that time. No back injury. I thought maybe, like most ankles, it only takes a couple weeks, and honestly, I would have to research again how to do it. But it doesn't take very long for certain injuries to heal. If they don't heal properly, then potentially you could hurt yourself further. I don't recall if I consulted it. I may have. I think I maybe called a doctor or something like that. I did call Lifespan Urgent Care. I called during the week of where that's right. I walked in and I told them when we were lifting the boxes that I couldn't do what they were asking me to do. I can't lift those boxes, and I'll say, like, Shane, who is one of the managers there, he kind of just looks at me and that's all he does, right? He doesn't take action to talk to me and say, hey, listen, hey, sit down, let me go talk to something. I didn't know what to do because my back was against the wall. I felt as if I didn't work that day or work, then I was either gonna, one, have to go back to Uber, which I wasn't making any money. Two, I had no more income from unemployment. So there was no money coming in. And the only way for me to make enough money for me to pay my bills was to work at Ocean State Job Lot. In that moment, I was pretty much dead broke. So I felt like I had no choice but to work. So for me, I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Do I continue working? Although I know that I had tweaked my back a couple weeks ago, I feel as if I'm in a good place to continue working. Do I continue working? So I couldn't tell myself to not go to work that week. It's either I do that or I go homeless, right? I'm broke. I can try to ask my single parent mother to sponsor me, but that's not going to go well. There's going to be conflict with my mother. There are homeless shelters, but if you know anything about homeless shelters, you need a tough mindset to survive that environment. Everyone in there has an issue. So I didn't know what to do. I wound up working that week. I'm talking about 40 hours lifting boxes. These are boxes ranging up to, I believe, almost 100 pounds. Probably not that much, not 100, but ranging. But my attempts at speaking to management about doing the job, I spoke to Tim about it too. Like the first day that I was there, first day on the job, I spoke to Tim about it. I said, I don't know if I can do that. And I was talking about lifting the U-boats. He too just looked at me and went about his day, right? So I was stuck. I didn't know what to do. I'm new at the company. I don't know who to talk to. I'm not someone who goes out there and complains a lot. I'm in the boat. I'm in the mindset that I'm new at this company. If I continue to complain, they'll look for a reason to get rid of me, right? And I can tell you why I think this, even with the attorney on my workers' compensation case. I complained to him saying that I don't know why I'm being denied TDI. I have a valid case for TDI. I'm nursing a back injury and I need help keeping the lights on. But I'm going to go back to Ocean State job lot, right? So it was that week, the exact week. I'd have to look up again. It was in November of 2024 where they asked me, who I'd been complaining for the past couple of weeks to both Tim and then at the new store with Shane, that I'm not in the condition to be able to lift heavy boxes. My voice was not heard by management, the management on staff. I did file. I wound up during that week where my back was injured, essentially because I had to work so many hours with my back. I called a doctor. This was lifespan urgent care because I didn't have a doctor at the time because I was unemployed. I could list the reasons why, Medicaid. I had Medicaid Tufts. This is 2003, 2024. I was still on Medicaid because I was unemployed back in 2015, and it was just easier for me to stay on Medicaid where they were taking money out of my paycheck than to find commercial insurance. I couldn't afford commercial insurance when, I'm trying to get someone to talk to me about my income. They had been taking Medicaid out of my paycheck for years. So I couldn't afford commercial insurance and Medicaid with what I was making over at Hertz. And prior to that, working as a cook, trying to get back into my career field of project management. All right, so I'm going on a tangent, just trying to tell you that I have years of experience in management. But I'm over at Ocean State Job Lot trying to negotiate with them management. I hurt my back late November 2024 because I was lifting heavy boxes when I knew I wasn't in the condition to be able to lift heavy boxes. I complained to management. I did call in and tell them that I can no longer work, and I asked to be put on a register because at that time I was still trying to negotiate to work with Ocean State Job Lot. I am someone who could never imagine not working. I was told that we have to work our entire lives. So multiple times in my life, I've had to use my entrepreneurial skills to stay afloat. And I've never felt that anyone would ever hire me for the positions that I'm qualified for. I started writing a book called Overqualified, how even since I've graduated college, I've never been able to find a job that, prior to graduating college, I found jobs that I was qualified for, but I wasn't educated to have. And then once I no longer had those jobs, but I knew what they were, like I didn't know what project management was until I graduated college. I was in an MBA program trying to figure out how to get into project management because I hear that you make a certain amount of money, you make the type of money that you can make and still live the American dream. So for the past decade, I've been trying to get into project management. My entire life is one big project, right? I know project management because I've been studying it for years. I've been trying to convince any company to give me a managerial role. Luckily for me, I've at least been able to maintain employment while trying to navigate the working environment. So when my back was hurt and it's still hurting today, I'm still trying to navigate every single day. I have to do things a lot differently because I haven't yet I haven't yet received treatment. I've tried physical therapy. Physical therapy only really strengthens my back, but it doesn't stop the inflammation that occurs when I work too much. For me, Remember, I told you that I had negotiated to work for 2 employers during the same week over at the Department of Labor and Training. So while working at Ocean State Job Lot, I had already negotiated to work at Bank of America starting December 2nd. So if Ocean State Job Lot was not willing to give me a plan to get back into a managerial position, I was at least going to switch employers over to Bank of America, where they were paying $25 an hour, 24 an hour, which is more than what I was making over at Ocean State Job Lot. And Bank of America is a great company. They have a retirement plan. There's a lot of things that they have at a bank that you don't get at a company like Ocean State Job Lot or other companies that I've worked with in the past. So working at Bank of America was lucrative. So I went into Bank of America on December 2nd, 2024 with a back injury, right? My back injury wasn't severe enough that I couldn't work. So the conversations at that point, because I had contacted an attorney, I spoke to Lifespan, Urgent Care, who was my first contact about my back issue. I talked to Concentra about workers' comp because I had Ocean State Job Lot has been willing to work with me on my workers' compensation case. But like most things, they say that I don't think they understand back issues with the way that they talk and they communicate. So this is why I'm creating this video. And they don't understand people. They don't understand that a person can be educated on back issues as well. But all right, I'm going to jump back to Ocean State Job Lot. To Bank of America. So I'm working at Bank of America. I'm currently employed with Bank of America, meaning that I'm working with a disability. I've been working with a disability since I've been working there. I've gotten through maybe 6-7 months of working until I experienced a pain in my back and had to go out on medical leave. A pain in my back where I was just like, I spoke to the chiropractor. He and I had a good conversation about backs. He told me to be on a lifting restriction, which I've kept to. He said don't lift more than 10 pounds. The chiropractor that I spoke to, I did not stay with him because he lacks communication. I'm used to being treated a certain way when I enter a doctor. Like, I like to be educated on how you're going to treat my body, what you're going to do to help me try to solve my issue. Because he lacked communication, wouldn't tell me actually what I was diagnosed for, and decided just to hook me up to a machine without educating me, I left to go find an actual back doctor. I wound up, it took me months to get in front of ortho, but I did find ortho. We did a couple of sessions of physical therapy. I had been nursing my back, icing my back at night, taking a desk position so that I don't have to lift heavy boxes, sticking to the lifting restriction that the doctor at Cityside chiropractor told me to do. I listened to him. Obviously, I listen to my doctors. I always do. And I think that I'm standing here today because I'm still listening. I am struggling though. So because with my issue, because I took the job over at Bank of America, I had negotiated to work there, TDI will not honor my claim. So while I'm struggling with Bank of America to continue working a 40-hour work week, I can't get TDI to actually look at my claim and say, hey, listen, I'm struggling too. No doctor told me that I had to not take work, and I was unemployed, so I had to find some sort of work. My back was against the wall. I didn't know how to not work. My entire life I've been working since I was 16 years old. I've been unemployed multiple times, and I've had to work even when I'm not working, if you know what I'm talking about. I've had to try to create an income for myself regardless of if someone's going to employ me. And I became a flipper, meaning I would go online like in times where I wasn't making enough money, and I even did this even when I had money because my mother was constantly asking me for money, so I couldn't get out of that, right? I didn't have money because I couldn't get out of this cycle that became worse when I had to live with my mother because I was unemployed. Yeah, I'm struggling to work, right? Because I'm trying not to cry. I haven't been able to find gainful employment since I was in my 20s. I've had to take, and I'm humble enough to take jobs that, 40,000 a year being a cook. I'll do it, just to keep a roof over my head, because I lost all confidence in trying to get back into project management because I was a BA project manager once, and I've been trying. The jobs that I've taken don't actually pay a living wage. Like, you can't live off of that, or you can't save off of that wage, right? As a cook, I wasn't making enough money to save anything. I had maybe $100 a month, maybe 200 a month that I could use for other stuff. Maybe after I paid for my groceries, maybe $200 a month that I could spend for leisure. This was like going to a movie, maybe buying a new video game, because I had gotten into video games because it was the one space where I could just not have to think too hard. That I could work the way that I know that things work, right? So I don't know any way to make instant money. The only thing that I know in my world is to work. You have to get up and work. But I'm hoping to create this GoFund because I'm running out of money. I'm back in a position that I was in last year where I didn't have enough money, so I'm desperate. Because I don't have enough money to survive they say you need to have 6 months worth of savings in case of unemployment. I had maybe 4 months of savings. I hadn't quite gotten there. I'm at the point now where I'm almost completely out of money again. My mindset is that I've been here before, so I'm optimistic that I can get out of it. But my risk level is that I go back to work at Bank of America. I try to perform 40 hours and I can't do it, right? My back is in too much pain. I can't perform the job. I tried to test my back driving a couple of hours for Uber to see if my back would respond for me driving long term. Because what happens is if I get up and walk, and this is a newer development over the past maybe couple of months, which I've been speaking to my doctors about, is that if I go to bed, I'll give you a 24-hour scenario. If I go to bed and my back's not in pain, right? I've done enough for my back not to be in pain. There are days where I wake up and maybe the lower part of my back is in pain, maybe the upper part. And I do feel a bit heavier at times. Uh, I've been self-managing my own medications because the doctors haven't quite come up with a plan for me yet. My next step is to speak to a pain specialist, as my doctor referred me to, but I've run out of money to see the pain specialist, so I have to go back to work. My conundrum is that I don't have enough money to pay for my medical bills, so I can't see the pain specialist to see if I can even work, right? I'm having to do all of this DIY. I'm having to make all my own decisions. And this is what I do this is what I know to make money. Since TDI is not working, I can't find help with proving my claim. The workers' compensation people don't actually care about me and my situation. They kind of just file things. They don't care. So I'm having to go into the court by myself, do that. There is a review period with TDI. Hopefully I can get in front of a judge and actually explain what I'm explaining in this video. And hopefully I can stay optimistic, stay prayerful that I can win. You know, a win here and there in life is needed. But I'm asking for your help. If you can, help me stay from being homeless, unemployed, and ultimately help me take care of myself, right? I know how to take care of myself. Oh, no bae either. So yeah, I've lost weight because no girlfriend, you know? Yeah, no one to help me stay on track. So I'm trying to do this as best. My family helps some here and there. We try to help each other, of course, but at the end of the day, we're all independent. You know, I can't rely on my family for me taking care of myself. I have to take care of myself in the best way I know how. Being out of work for the past 6 weeks has helped me because I've been able to rest when I need to rest, as opposed to when the company, you know, at Bank of America tells me I can rest. I'm in a position where I don't have freedom to do much, but you know, I'm in a call center position. I have to be on the phone. If I'm not on the phone, I'm no good to the company. So I have to navigate that as well. I'm not sure how long I can survive there. I've been trying to get back into project management. At least at project management, you're setting meetings throughout the day. You're working on a computer. You're not required to be on the phone all day. And from what I know from when I was in project management, if I need a day where I can go to a doctor, I can just work on my phone, talk about this and that. I can work from home. And that's one of the benefits of being a project manager, which is why I've been trying to work as a project manager. I believe I can work as a project manager even with a back injury. So that's why I've been going hard at studying project management. I have a certification from Bryant University, and working on another Google IT project manager certification, which I believe would be good for Bank of America if I'm so lucky to be able to work and get into a position as a project manager at Bank of America. I don't know if I can do that. My current role is demanding, it's mentally demanding. And I just don't know if I'm going to be able to work there much longer. Is what I'm trying to say. Especially in that position, because it's demanding on my mind and my body. So I'm trying to get into project management, trying to find just something other than something that I can do even with a bad back. Hopefully you hear my story. Hopefully you can help me out. Help me stay off unemployment. Help me stay from being homeless. Thank you for watching my video. I hope I can connect with you. Thank you.